Hi guys, so we just witnessed the character in game where I was farming an 8 mod corrupted map with a very simple strategy. I was using is actually three types of scarabs: abyss, harbingers, and also gilded divination scarab. And to be fair, all that matters to me is the gilded divination scarab. I could go wing, but I'm just too lazy to set it up. Uh, but basically, with this simple strategy, with Beyond and the scarabs and with 8 mob corrupted mat, I was able to farm my MAGEBLOOD and also this entire tornado shot setup. It's pretty expensive. I think the entire set would cost above one mirror. That's including the mage blood itself. But it's a very simple scarab. I also showed you guys the skill tree. The skill tree isn't spec to anything much actually. It's spec into harbingers and a whole lot of quantity of items, and then I try to increase the pack size for either one of the world maps. But it's pretty straightforward. I got the gate as well, the 7 gate, just so that I could use beyond in my map device. But basically, in a short summary, it's pretty a lazy setup. But I'm running wandering path just because I'm just trying to squeeze as much of quantity and rarity from the maps as much as I can. Uh, just because we can understand. I mean, I've played a Magic Find previously in previous leagues, and most of the time the card drops from beyond mobs, and that's how I felt it is. So all I'm doing is kind of buffing up beyond mobs in the Ancestor and also Harbinger. But besides that, I would just put them in random points, try to get Delirium for free, and I'll just go with my maps with a simple Alkengos strategy. And how I do it is I would buy a bunch of 8 mod corrupted map from Discord TFT, and then I would just run them with really minimal amount of investment. All I do is run one hunter trader, and the rest of them I would just randomly use my sextants. But I'm out of them, so I will not use them until I pick up more. And then I randomly use them. So it's not optimized in any way, but I was able to be very profitable using this method, right? And just because I've tried the strongbox method, taking the nodes and also running enraged strong boxes in my sextants. But the only issue with it is it takes too long to sort them out, and it's too expensive. And and to be fair, I've tried from 50 to 70 maps doing strongbox farming with highly optimized gilded scarabs and so on, and I wouldn't say it was significant, at least not from that 50 to 70. Of course, I don't have enough example size, but probably I could try that in another time. But really, this strat is pretty simple. All I'm doing is trying to squeeze out as much quantity from a map, and then try to hope for the the apothecary card to drop, and I was able to get three of them. I mean, three of them dropped. But a funny story is my first apothecary, I got it, I sold it off, and then the second apothecary actually dropped. But then I wasn't able to get to it and pick it up because I died before the six portals. So that was really a sad day. I kind of logged out ultimate instantly just to recover, and then I believe the next day or the day after, I dropped another one, and I was able to use the hovercraft to gamble my way. But really, it's not about the gambling. It's about this setup and trying to get the card. And I think this setup has been really fruitful so far. I will show you more maps, but before that, I just want to go around my equipments. It's a fairly expensive tornado shot build. It's a pure physical to cold conversion, and the reason I do that was because I got lucky with this bow, and I was able to get tier two physical damage, and then the craft was pretty much completed after getting a tier two physical damage with an open prefix and also an open suffix. So I completed this bow. I did spend a good 30 divine for the base. I got the fractured 2 additional arrows. Uh, and then after that, I kind of spent around 10 to 20 divines trying to craft this and trying to hit the attack speed. I think I got the tier 2 attack speed in the third try using the orc speed from the house. So that is the bow. It's pretty good bow. It's as lucky as I could get. Tier 2 is pretty high, and I got it. I really got lucky since I was able to get the mods within 2 divine word of essences of contempt. I was just trying for it and I got it. And then that is the bow, pure physical. I think nothing abnormal about the bow. All I'm trying to do is get a whole lot of physical. I got the fractured additional arrows and I augmented the attack speed and crafted the last crit chance with the attributes modifier. And it's a really good bow, and probably the next bow I would aim for is a mirror tier one. But let's see. I gotta farm more. Lately I've been pretty focused on trying to optimize the character, so I kind of stopped farming as much. But let's see. So let me go do not disturb first, and then we move on. So it is a hybrid, somewhat hybrid kind of magic find. I wanted to use the rare helmet part just so that I could get a base before I started crafting it, and I got a base with the tornado shot and enchant, and I was able to craft this. And this was a lucky craft as well. I think I spent quite a few essences, and then it rolled out like this, just as it is, and I all I had to do was just craft a suffix for the rarity drop by slain rare or unique enemies. Besides than that, for the implicits, I'm getting mana reservation and also reduced mana cost of attacks. Pretty common setup, but the key thing about this helm is that I could have aimed for a double rarity with the crafted rarity modifier, but the reason why I only wanted the rarity in the prefix was because I wanted to get health regen as the suffix, which you can see here. We were lucky enough to get tier 1, and I will get into more why we want the health regen, but I think it plays a big role in setting up this build. The health regen is really important. The reservation is also important, and the rest of it, it's just okay, right? We got the tier 1 rarity, which is good enough, and we got tier 3 life, so we'll leave with it. Um, and then we move on. So we kind of got some rarity here and the reservation and life we need, the life regen we need. So we move on to the amulet itself. Well, this is a very interesting amulet actually, and I was lucky enough to buy it as it is in from the trade, but I think the price of something similar has gotten really expensive lately. Just for the, let me just try searching. Yeah, none of this in. Okay, let's remove that. Well, looking around, I'm around 2G1, and then pretty basic, right? So I have more than just that. Let me just find physical damage as extra coal. Oh yeah, quantity especially important since we are magic finding, and then mana reservation. As you can see, it's really it's nothing similar. I've seen as okay, probably we do have something similar. Yeah, 6 divine, but let's see what uh how are the modes. Yeah, 9%, and then they have some extra, yeah, some leeches mana. Uh, and the prefix is just okay. 15 divine for the clarity one. So the ones in trade are pretty mediocre, but this one gives us a ton of damage as extra cold. We also get ton of damage from projectile speed and projectile damage. If we kind of got decent rolls on them, we would be getting 40%, around 40% extra damage since we take the speed reduction node from the bow mastery for projectile speed affecting damage with bows. So that is what we got, and then the suffixes are pretty nice actually, since we got the reservation, the quantity at 10%, and then we got the generation rate, which is the 52.5 life per second. And that's also important because we are using count spirit. Like I said, we are trying to stack as much regen per second just to generate counts, spirit, rage, and then that's where we're getting. We're also getting some from vitality, and also we are getting 3%, of course, which is not really 3%. We're looking around 6%, 5.5% from this flask itself, since we got a mage blood and we have the 70% increase effect enhanced with the modifiers. And that's where we're getting our life regen to generate rage. Rage is, you can see my rage barely goes down until it takes some time before it kind of starts depleting down. I'm able to be comfortably sustain my rage and also berserk uptime without no issues. And I love it actually. I think berserk is really strong, and the fact that I could include rage and berserk setup into my magic find setup really makes this build really solid. So the next items are the rings. They are pretty okay. I mean, they are 9 divine-ish above, 9% quantity, and then 20 something percent rarity. It's pretty decent, especially with the element resistances. They are pretty high, and this one is slightly more better, where we get 9% quantity and 31% rarity. I mean, we could upgrade them, but I don't see a need for it right now. So we'll just leave it and use them until we kind of optimize further. The next one is the Grid's Embrace. I think pretty common as well. But I initially thought that Grid Embrace is gonna really kind of nerf my build, because previously I was using a rare chest with increased aura effect and so on, and then the reduction in movement speed as well, right? So I initially assumed that using Greed's Embrace would kind of slow down my character, but when you start using them and eventually get used to them, you would kind of adapt to the speed and also generally the entire character itself, that eventually you kind of spec your skill points to try to get some movement speed as well, and then that kind of balance things out, right? Especially we have a mage blood, but we're not even running a movement speed flask. We got movement speed in our suppress our in our quartz flask with increased effect, so that's giving us this decent movement speed. And later on we have berserk. We will run much faster, and then we get the some of the rare mods from inspired learning. We will also be much more faster. uh I just want to show you guys the rest of the equipments. We have a count spirit here. Yeah, curse enemies with elemental weakness, and just because I hit it, I just randomly walled count spirit which dropped, and I got the mode, so I decided to just move and use this double curse setup. So we have curse elemental weakness on hit here, and as you are aware, we use the count spirits just because the final mod, where it regenerates 1 rage per second for every 100 life recovery. So what is happening here is that, okay, let me just put with vitality in this berserk slot, and let's try to oops, let me just turn off petrify blade. So let's just see how much life regen we're getting. So we are getting around 600 uh, life regen, and 598 while I'm standing, and then 698 while I'm moving. So that's around 7 rage. I should get 2 more. I should probably optimize a bit to get that additional 2 life regen, just so that I could reach 700. But that I will do right after this. But that is why we would need life regen. 600 without the wolf's vision is pretty high, and it kind of sustains your rage per second effectively. I think it's a really good setup that I've always considered to have some sort of life regen in some of my equipments. Although you could argue that we could have a multiplier, crit strike multiplier, but I guess it's pretty hard to craft such amulets, so we'll live with it. 7 rage per second, I think is really nice. We can keep I think before its cooldowns, we are already at 40 rage generation, so that's pretty good as well. The rest of it, we have the Golem Nabak boots, and then this boots is pretty common as well. We use it for the quantity of items found, and I've gotten regenerate 100 life per second implicit just so that I could further boost up my rage generation. And then in the enchant was is attack speed if I've killed recently, so that's a nice thing to have. I could also go 80% stun resist. I think I should. I wanna give it a try, especially when I'm already getting 20% here. I think a void stun is pretty nice to have for now since I moved my Pantheon to use Soul of us. I was trying to use Soul of Lunaris, but then I was constantly getting stunned, so I probably need to do something about the stun. But overall, it's a pretty strong character. I would just move this here and just include them so I could talk about the gem setup. So let, before that, before we go into the gem, I just want to share we have a mage blade here. It's my first time using the mage blade. I've always gone for a headhunter just because I'm a magic finder. But this time around, I was able to kind of luckily, kind of gamba my way into a mage blade. So it's pretty nice. I would, of course, it's a game changer and so on, but it doesn't stop you from getting to these highly optimized magic finds builds without having a mage blade, right? You could always get a nice Stygian Wise or a Bisco Leash is also nice to have. So this is really the luxury part of the build. Of course, the bow itself is expensive, especially if I'm able to get the enchant for it, which is the explicit physical modifiers. That would be great. But that is all pretty much the equipments. But the quiver, this is a very interesting quiver. Uh, of course, we would generally see people using a physical attack quiver. They would have a physical attack implicits, and also they would aim for tier 1 physical attack, and they would always almost prioritize the crit multiplier. But my issue is I wanted to use a complete cold conversion build, but the synthesized version for cold conversion is too damn expensive. So I decided to use something like a double influence quiver, and this is something that I've crafted. I got pretty lucky with this. I also failed in one of the other quivers where I didn't have any chance with I was trying to aug coal and I got the coal damage to attack. I could aug another coal and deterministically get the uh, coal conversion mod, but I don't want to do that. So I got another base and tried to craft this, and I got it as it is. Of course, it's all tier 1, and I think the physical damage to cold damage I get 25% from there. And then the rest of it, the implicit is physical damage as extra chaos, and then we also have a modifier of 13% of physical damage as extra cool. That's all extra from all the physical damage I have, so that's really high damage. I don't want to get into POB and stuff, but I've been playing this Magic Find Deadeye for such a long time that I kind of already know what kind of damage I need in order for me to sustain in 8 mod corrupted maps, right? And the suffix over here, ideally, if we had crit multiplier, that will be the best. But then we got the when I kind of when I was crafting this, we got the global crit chance and chance to gain frenzy charge and critical strike. So that was fair enough for me. I was satisfied with it just because uh, us being able to generate frenzies charge and critical strike could actually help us remove the frenzy in the mana fog setup, right? So I'm almost 100% uptime with my frenzy charges, maximum frenzy charges. And the rest of it is additional arrows. Since we're playing tornado shot, I think I love to have additional arrows. I think generally that's more DPS, and then I crafted an attack speed. Pretty, yeah, pretty rare quiver, pretty okay in terms of modifiers. Although all of them are T1. but it's a special one. And I get 25% conversion from cold, from physical to cold from my quiver, and the rest of it, I'm getting some of them from my watch's eye, which is sorry here. I'm getting them 36% from there, and the rest of so I'm getting 36% from these watches eye, which is around 61%, and the last 40% I got it from my cold mastery node of converting physical damage to cold damage. That's why I'm getting 100% without the need of any rare gloves with those implicits, with irreversible implicits of for physical to cold conversion. So that kind of gives me the ability to stick with common spirit, which is really nice. I think this glove is really solid, regardless of what kind of build you play. A lot of tankiness, a lot of attack speed, movement speed. It's an overall a great uh, gloves to generate the rage and really feel the power of Berserk. But besides than that, these are pretty expensive. I would say these Great Embrace is pretty cheap. I would probably go for +1 Socketed and also reduce critical stack damage, or even I would go for the um, probably at more damage implicit, more attack damage implicit, 50%, and then 50% critical strike damage reduction. Ideally, that would be it. But besides than that, you might think that I only have 3000 HP, and then I'm using Petrified Blood, and I'm also using some Arrogant setup, which kind of reserves my HP. But really, this is a super solid tanky hero. Not tanking in terms of facing monsters face to face and trying to fight them, but the fact that it doesn't die as much as it should, especially when our evasion rating and armor is really low, and just because we're using Petrified Blade and Progenesis, we are able to really tank a whole lot of things with delayed damage, and then before dying being able to leech out the HP from mobs. I think it's pretty good in terms of sustain, and especially when I have this enhanced setup, I use Anomalous Petrified Blade. It gives me more tankiness. But I'll run through the gem. But that will be. Let me just go through the Flask for a bit, and let's see uh, what do you guys think about it. So I am using a Mage Blade. I wanted to use 4 magic flask, but really this setup is pretty nice as far since I can afford a Progenesis flask. I think it's a really it's really a flask that improves quality of life. Now we have a mage build setup. What I'm trying to do with my flask is I want to have permanent onslaught, just because I don't want to annoy the onslaught anointment, because I want to use the Whispers of Doom for additional curse. Uh, but we are getting permanent onslaught from our flask. We are using Progenesis, mostly for the life loss prevention into 4 seconds, just so that we could tank a bit more. We saw the 8 mod corrupted maps. They always spawn monsters everywhere, right in front of your face, and we kind of, this Progenesis will help you kind of tank those very effectively. We also have the quad flask, and the reason for the quad flask is because since we have around 90 something percent increased effect, and I am lacking in terms of suppression. I'm getting around, let's see, we're getting around 73%, and then we add this flask, we go into 100%. But what it's doing is we are getting permanent phasing, and we're getting, I think we should be getting around 18, uh, we should be getting around 19 of suppressed spell damage, 90% suppressed spell damage from here. And then we are also getting this specific mod where we get 8% chance to suppress spell damage while phasing. But since we are using the flask with a mage blood, we are permanently up on phasing, so we are permanently getting the 8% suppress spell damage. That's how I am keeping my spell suppression damage chance, and I think it's a pretty good way to do so, just because we are able to save some points with it. Previously, when when I wasn't using the quad flush setup, I needed to spend at least 3 points for me to get a suppression up. But then once I've gotten into this setup, I just needed to put some suppression tattoo, and I was able to get 100% spell suppress. The next one is an amethyst flask, uh, mostly for chaos resistance, and I crafted the regenerate 3 life per second. The regenerate 3 life per second actually gives me a total of 180 life generation per second, which is very close to 2 rage per second, and it's super effective, especially with the increase effect. But this amethyst flask might be replaced. I am still deciding what flask do I put. I think right now I can appreciate the chaos resistance. I am at 10% positive. Previously I was 60% negative, but with this flask on, it's really high chaos resistance since we have the increased effect, but it doesn't stack the chaos resistance with progenesis, so it's a bit redundant. That's why I probably would change this amethyst flask. Maybe go for a gold flask for more magic rarity. But we will see. But this has been working well. The last one is the divination distillate. This is pretty solid, just because it's giving us a whole lot of quantity and also rarity, right? So if I'm gonna use up my skill, since I'm using some of my life for my skill spam, and then I use divination distillate. That's how I maintain the flask itself, and it gives me a whole lot of quantity and also rarity. And we also can appreciate the 50% to elemental resistance. I think it gives you a whole lot of elemental resistance. For example, it kind of overcaps your elemental resistance, and then that's a nice thing to have, especially when you're dealing with the Etherward Worlds altars. They kind of reduce your resistance like crazy at times, so I think we kind of can appreciate the 50% elemental resistance. But that is pretty much it in terms of the flask. The gem setup pretty straightforward: awaken elemental, inspiration, hypotomia, critical damage, a divergent tornado shot, and also awaken vicious projectile for extra physical damage. That is pretty straightforward. The auras that I'm running is purity element, hatred, grace, and also in level 4 enlightened support. The rest of them is the six link. I previously tried the mana forge setup, but it was kind of funky. I didn't like it. It felt a bit overcluttered, and it needed me to change a lot of stuff in my build. Then I stopped going with the six link mana fox setup, and instead I run these enhanced support, which is super effective, just because we are using all the skill gems, which is pretty dependent on it, right? For example, I run an enhanced support here. I'm getting +1 level for my chest, which makes it a level 5 enhanced support, and it improves the quality of blood and sand and normal blood and sand, where I get 52% increased projectile while in sand stance, right? Which is 52% projectile speed and also 52% increase in damage. So it's super juicy stuff. I really like this enhanced support for this blood and sand, and it's really worth the slot. And then we also run Berserk in enhanced support. Why? Because by default we see Berserk. It has while you're in Berserk you have 20% increased attack damage. But when we put Berserk with enhanced support with increased quality, what it does it improves the quality even more and increases the amount of attack damage you deal while in Berserk, which is 52% now. That's more than 100% increase of the default Berserk. Then we use anomalous petrified blood. And the reason why we use anomalous is because we want to get the benefits of increasing its quality since we are using an enhanced support. Then once the quality increases, it actually increases your tankiness and also reduces damage taken while you're affected by petrified blood. So this is really benefiting a lot from the enhanced support as well. And I definitely, most definitely felt way more tanky after putting the anomalous petrified blade setup in my enhanced link. Then we are also benefiting the enhanced support We are also benefiting from the enhanced support using our sniper's mark. We have a level 21 mark, and then we are increasing its quality, where cursed enemies takes 50% increased damage and splits into towards 5 additional projectile. So without the enhanced support, we are getting around 41%. So but we get around 9% increased damage, which is pretty decent, I would say. Especially we do have some, yeah, really good interactions with the curse sniper's mark, and also clearing speed. I think it's really nice to have. The rest of it is pretty straightforward. We have the ensnaring arrow mana fog set up, but I pretty much use it to get the benefits from the ensnaring arrow effect, which is increasing the projectile damage whenever ensnare enemies get shot from my tornado shot, and also I'm generating power charge on critical support. That's how I'm generating my power charge. But the rest of it is just mana fogged and flame dash just to get around. Uh, and then I am also reserving my life, but I am reserving my life with two auras, additional auras actually. The precision, anomalous precision. I think we all need precision, pretty high level, just because eventually we would face some accuracy issue, and then we will also need a lot of critical chance that we are getting from precision. I use the anomalous version just so because we can get more increased reservation efficiency from it, and since we're linking it with arrogant support, we would appreciate the reservation efficiency. Then we have the vitality. Pretty straightforward. We are using the vitality to actually improve our rage charges, but not necessarily on the life regen as well. And then we do have steel skin here. I think it's a nice to have. Just keep kicking steel skin on your left click. But I would also try defiance, as I'm actually trying a defiance banner setup into this link, and probably let's see how it goes. So that is pretty much the entire equip set. It's pretty expensive, but it's really optimized. If you see, it's really built based on wanting to use count spirit in this really high magic, kind of decently high magic find setup. So let's see how much magic finding we do have. So we have 63% quantity, increased quantity, and also rarity around 172%. But with divination distillate, we have close to 200% increased rarity and a 75% increased quantity. And well, we could improve more, but do we want that? I don't think it's really significant at this point of time. Having more than 70% is already quite high, and as you can see from the previous map showcase, I am on my highest filter from Filter Blade. This is this ultra super strict filter. I'm basically not finding for anything else except the apothecary cards, and that is all I'm doing, right? I don't want to spend time looking through res. I don't want to spend time looking into a very minimal amount of item pricing. All I want to do is just blast through maps, get really high end stuff, and then I chuck all them in all the potentially good loots into a tab and list them for 40 chaos and whatever. When someone try to spam me for it, then I would understand that that item is more expensive. Then I'll kind of reprice it. But then the rest of it, I would eventually just vendor them and close them. But remember, we're not investing that much for our maps. All we're doing is uh, trying to go as easy as we can, as simple as you can, without spending 1, 2, 3 hours uh, to set up. So what I do is pretty much run 100 traders and just put in some scarabs, run beyond, and I go all the time, and it has worked perfectly for me. If you looked at my playtime, we do have 23 days. But of course, most of them just me AFKing. But I'm only at 1 million monsters right now, and I've dropped 3 apothecary. Also included all those mirror shot cards and so on, which I've along the way just sold them, um, and kind of afforded this entire bill. Uh, but let's quickly go through the skill tree. Really optimized skill tree. I am using two to Thread of Hope, just because I'm trying to the get some of these notes without really want to spend a lot of skill points, just because I'm kind of behind in 4 levels. I need 4 more levels, and I don't have the time to necessarily go for the 5-way because it's gonna take some time. But I use the large Thread of Hope to get King to get to actually get King of the Hill, and also get multi-shot. The rest of it, I also got one with nature. It's nice to have, but the rest of it is pretty self-explanatory. I got a really nice megalomaniac. What I'm doing with this megalomaniac is I am getting Feast of Flesh, so I get the increased maximum life and 10 life per enemy hit without needing to have the mode in my Watcher's Eye. I'm getting Repeater. Um, just for additional damage and attack speed, and also Spiteful Presence for my Hatred aura. So we would need that. I am getting point blank just because monsters always pop up right in front of my face, especially when dealing with Beyond. They are most of the time they are going to pop up right in front of your face, and I think point blank would really do a whole ton more of damage compared to going long shot and so on. Uh, we go thick skin mostly just because the amount of life it gives, not not needing the avoid elemental ailments since we are running purity elements. We also go lethality just because we need more critical strike multiplier. We could have gone this way and save a point, but I went this way just so that we could get that additional 20% critical strike multiplier. We also went Winter Spirit to get additional physical damage as extra coal, uh, and also to get the coal mastery node for physical conversion. The rest of it, what is happening in this part of the tree is I'm getting all the adjacent nodes just so I could use the additional projectile tattoo. I am just filling this in just so that I could use the additional projectile, but mostly I'm getting the leech and accuracy and life on the top part of the tree. And over here it's just meant for the Thread of Hope. Probably it's an overkill. I feel like it's an overkill just for these two, but I think it's significant for me for now. So we'll leave it as it is. As long as we're meeting the requirements for the tattoo to get an additional projectile, then it's good enough. We go Master Fletcher, definitely. We could either go with more crit chance and multiplier, but I realize I kind of lose a lot of attack speed when I don't have attack speed in the multi shot setup, and also the Master Fletcher setup. So what I did was, instead of specking into King of the Hill, I specced into Master Fletcher with full points, and then I got the King of the Hill just benefiting from the Thread of Hope. Probably changed, but let's say we go into a cluster setup. We do have the normal cluster setup: Feed the Fury, Fuel the Fire, Martial Prowess. As usual, we use Feed the Fury and Martial Prowess, and the fuel of art will not be needed. We just want the mod so that it is in the middle and we get to choose these two without needing to spend a whole lot of point. We go Fear of Fury, and then we have uh, an additional cluster jewel setup with quick getaway and pressure points, mostly on the crit setup. I think this part of my tree, I would probably change it for repeater and a quick getaway. I think that would boost my DPS way more. But this is how it is. And also we have a big boy jewel here, level 84 reservation jewel with 3 nodes. This cost me around 10 divine, but I think it's way more right now. You see, even with these simple mods, and what this cluster gives me is a ton lot of attributes. I think I'm getting around 16, 32 attributes, 20 to intelligence and 12 to intelligence, strength, and dexterity. It's a lot, especially when we get the 35% increase effect mode. This is a really good buy. I don't regret it. The only thing I would probably not have flexibility is if I ever decided to run determination. I'm afraid I might have to reroll this, but I probably just sell it. And let's see. But probably Grace is good for now. And then we have the second medium cluster setup. This is for it's a crit cluster setup as well. I wanted overwhelming. malice, just because I'm stacking all these extra physical damage as cold and chaos, as in like in this implicit here. And what Unholy Might gives me is 30% physical damage as extra chaos. So I'm close to around 50% physical damage as extra chaos, and close to around 45% physical damage as extra cold. All right, and all this extra is just stacking up, and it's doing pretty a good job so far. I would remain this. I would try probably change to have more base damage from repeater and quick getaway. But then I also managed to snipe this Watcher's Eye. It's okay in terms of um, the numbering, just because I don't want to spend more divines on it. But it has really three nice mods. Physical damage converted core while affected by hatred. We needed that to get our rest of the 35% physical to core. 12% physical damage hit taken as lightning damage while affected by purity of elements. That's also another quality of Rife, just so we are mitigating all the physical damage into lightning. Uh, we are using purity of elements. And the last one is increased attack damage while affected by precision. Is also a really nice to have, since we are dependent on precision as well. Let's see how much would something like this cost. Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty expensive. Let's see. Yeah, it's only for this too. We were looking at six. It starts from 16 divine. Uh, it probably go higher, since we do use purity of elements. A lot of magic finders use purity of elements, and this is a really nice mod to have in terms of quality of life. And the rest of it, I'm getting leech, instant leech, life here, accuracy. This part, and we are getting the extra frenzy charge and power charge. And I try to get some tattoos in if ever I don't need these attributes, but I'm kind of starving on intelligence. But right now it's okay the way that is. But that will be it. The rest of it is pretty simple. We get the aura effect and reservation. I use the massive ring thread of hope. I get the blood siphon, wheel of blades more for more physical, master of blades for more physical. Aspect of the links is nice to have. I did get quick step for the suppression and movement speed, and part of the hunter. For more accuracy, probably don't need this at this point of time, but I am probably needing the dexterity, because I would need the minimum of 212 dexterity to use this bow, and I'm at 214, so I remember using this just so we can keep on our dexterity. And we do have Hired Killer for maximum life, Harrier for attack speed, movement speed, and also mana reservation. So pretty strict, I mean pretty tight, I would say. We do have another 4 skill points if I ever decided to get into level 100. I should most definitely, but with that 4 skill point, I probably spec into Primeval Force, or probably something to do with the mark itself, around here. Let's see. It should be around. Yeah, we should get the Mark One. I think we should get the Mark One and then have one attribute a point put into this claw damage, so that we could put another tattoo to increase this projectile. But that is pretty much the skill tree. Really, it's a really nice build. I think we get a lot of reservation from the harm amulet, and for enlightened support. We were able to run these three big auras, and it's a lot. It has a really good attack speed. Just because I am considering attack speed in my class with increased effect, it is really good. If I go into, let's see, steel skin. If I go into berserk, I have much more attack speed, and I know I don't necessarily need to use POB, because I'm not trying to get this guy to a trillion damage or a billion damage in terms of tornado shot. But since I've played a whole lot of magic finding, I would usually already understand judging by the tooltip DPS, whether I do have enough damage or not. We probably not have enough damage just because we are not capped on crit chance. But as I would generate power charges, around 4 of them, I would get close to 80 to 90% crit chance. That is good for now. But that is all the character. Uh, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I would like you guys to help me subscribe it. I want to share more. I want to share these really cheap builds, cheapest way to get these really high-end value cards. Just because not all of us have time for the strong box farming. Not all of us have 20 hours per day just to grind the strong boxes and invest in them. We want a pretty minimal setup so that we can kind of set it up quick. Just use simple scarabs. Of course, they might not be as effective as the wing scarabs, but for me to be able to drop 3 apothecaries with other equipments, right, which are expensive, equally expensive, which I'm not mentioning. I don't really need to mention since I've already gotten the most expensive item uh, in the game, which is the MAGEBLOOD. So this is to prove that with very minimal setup, you are able to actually farm your way towards getting these really expensive items. And I hope to share more. I will definitely share more magic finding tips. But thank you for now, and please subscribe.